Well, it's a beautiful day today. This is a Saturday morning, and I'm going on a little tour into St. Paul. I'm waiting on the train right now, and I'm going down to an interesting historic site called the Wabasha Caves, and we'll talk more about that when I get down there. It was at a cave that had been turned into a luxurious ballroom and speakeasy during the 1920s, and there were numerous outlaws such as John Dillinger and the famous Bugsy Malone and Babyface Johnson, or whatever their names were, that visited this place, and we're going to learn about it. So we're going to the Wabasha Caves here, and I'll be getting on the train here shortly as it pulls into the station. This is the Bloomington Central Station, and the park and the water fountains are seen here. The train is now pulling around the corner, and we'll be pulling into station here shortly.
Please allow persons with disabilities and seniors to use designated seating.
Well, I'm going to start my tour here in St. Paul at the famous Mickey's Dining Car. This has been here for 70 years, since 1937. It's been under single-family ownership, the Matson family. They're still operating 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. It's quite an operation, very inexpensive and good quality. I'm at the corner of Kellogg and Wabasha in downtown St. Paul, and you're looking here at a view of the Mississippi River. I'm getting ready to cross the river here on the Wabasha Bridge. This is the intersection here of Kellogg and Wabasha, the Crown Plaza, and beautiful parklands along the side of the river front here of the Mississippi. This is a view of the St. Paul skyline as seen from midway on the Wabasha Bridge. Well, I'm here at the Wabasha Caves in St. Paul, Minnesota. These are famous historic caves here in the sandstone area that were developed by the two French explorers in the 1860s, and they grew mushrooms in these caves for years and years, and then in later years it became a speakeasy. In the 1920s it was a speakeasy for the Prohibition era, and all the gangsters from Chicago came up here, and it was renamed the Castle Royale Club. And the entire inside of these caves was created into a beautiful club with big bands and all kinds of parties and drinks and all kinds of stuff. There is a tour that goes through these caves, and apparently there was a gangster murder inside here, and it is believed to be haunted. And a very interesting tour in here. If you ever get to St. Paul, you must see this. It's quite interesting. The Wabasha Street Caves.
I appreciate it. That's very kind. Thanks, I love this guy. Place room, you have probably already put together for yourselves. Why? We call it fireplace room. If not, it's the fireplace. And this has been many, many people's favorite room throughout history. I've had exactly one party since I've worked here, and this is where your last loyal few always end up to help you finish off that last keg, because it's not like you're going to get your money back, and what are we supposed to do, right? Anyway, and so this was the case on an evening in 1934, when Bill and Josephine had a big public party, cover at the door, all are welcome, big band is playing. And there were 4 men in the club that night that nobody knew and nobody recognized. And this is a really big deal at the time, because that's how you keep tabs on people, right? So even if I don't know who you are, I know a guy who knows a guy whose brother went to school with you, so you're okay, right? That there's 4 guys and nobody knows them, and nobody knows anybody who knows them, and they're not talking to anybody long enough to even get a beat on why they're here. That's going to be a big deal in 1933 or 1934. Then the rumor starts to spread that these guys are with the band. Well, why do you think they're with the band? Well, because they came in with the band, and they were all carrying musician cases. Violin cases, guitar cases, trumpet cases, that kind of thing. But they how'd you do that there? Was it a little scary? No? Were you a little scared at all? No, we didn't. We weren't.
Record any portion of the tour. You tube, you die. Now we're going to tell you about a time in this country when there was a lot of death, a lot of corruption in the government, the economy was in turmoil, the only people that had money were the banks, and I am not talking about now. But you will see history. Look through the trees this way, you see downtown St. Small skyscrapers. If you look right through this gap right here, no, right there, you can see the Minneapolis little skyscrapers. Now this is Swede Hollow Park. Raise your hand if you're Swedish. Welcome home. You know what Swede Hollow used to was? Swede Hollow used to was a large immigrant community. It was not actually a predominantly Swedish community. It was also lots of Czechs, Germans, Poles, Italians. You know, the big melting pot, like we learned on Schoolhouse Rock. Yeah. They lived right down here at the bottom of the bluff, which looks pretty much exactly like it looks right now. Doesn't that look like a nice place to live? No, like you can kind of see on this sign, their homes were not much more than little tar paper shacks. Their idea of running water was to take a bucket and run around with it. So you got the poor homeless people laying down there. Now right up here at the top of the hill, to the left of this big red brick pillar, you see the large mansion of the Ham family, right? No, it ain't there no more. Of course, if you look across the street at the yellow house, that was his dad's house, and when his son gets married, he makes him a mansion right across the street. And then the current owners of this house, just last year, they made a little Hams bear out of their tree in the front yard. You guys see it from here?
Yeah.
This is Wabasha Street. Looking north here, you can see the skyline of St. Paul and the Wabasha Bridge, which crosses the Mississippi River. And we'll get a look at that up here just ahead. Another view of the Wabasha Street Bridge, and the water you see down there is the Mississippi. However, there's an island there, and on the other side of that island is another extension of the river. Of the Mississippi. I'm looking to the west here from the crossing from the center point on the Wabasha Bridge in St. Paul. The park to the left is Harriet Island. It's a beautiful landscaped area. We're in the north bank of the Mississippi, a beautiful green space greenway here along the banks of the river. Beautiful parks and pedestrian walks, and overlooks here as we go towards the river. This is looking east on the Mississippi, and it curves around here up ahead to flow south onward down to the Gulf. There's a short segment here that's an east-west route on the river.